Hello, I'm Palm Beach County School Superintendent Donald Fenoy. Thank you for joining us for this community meeting hosted by District 4 School Board member Erik Whitfield. Tonight you will hear important updates related to the district's next strategic plan and learn more about the equity-focused work undertaken by our school board in recent months. On April 14th, the school board worked together to create a new mission and vision for the district that it will be shared tonight. The mission and vision will serve as a strong foundation for the development of our next strategic plan. I know Mrs. Whitfield is eager to share these updates with you tonight, as well as solicit your feedback during the community meeting using interactive poll questions and the chat box feature. Before she kicks things off, I did want to take a moment to formally introduce her. Erik Whitfield was first elected to the school board in November 2014, and since then, she has championed a number of issues, including public health, improved academic success at private early learning centers in Lake Worth and Delray Beach, and inclusivity at our schools. Ms. Whitfield has accomplished many things during her tenure on the board, and she's also the mother of two beautiful daughters, one of whom attends middle school in the district. So I know this work is near and dear to her heart. I want to personally thank her and the entire school board for taking the time to connect with constituents via these community meetings. We look forward to your continued engagement in this process as we work together to create a better educational system for every student in Palm Beach County. Thank you for participating and have a wonderful evening.
Good evening and welcome to the first board member strategic plan virtual community meeting. My name is Erik Whitfield and I'm your school board member for District 4. It is such a pleasure for me to spend the next hour with you as we talk about our upcoming strategic plan for the school district of Palm Beach County. It's my honor to have served in this role as your school board member for the last 6 years. During my time on the board, I've worked really hard to focus on the needs of our community. Specifically, I've thought about what it is that makes a strong community and how our schools can serve the needs so that all children have the ability to succeed. My focus areas have been around eliminating hunger and homelessness, prioritizing inclusivity, mental health, and early learning. From day one, my overarching goal has been to be the most accessible board member, so I'm really glad to be the first one tonight. I try really hard to be the board member that I believe our communities deserve, not only because I'm your board member, but also because I'm a parent in this system. I have two children, a 13-year-old that's in one of our middle schools and a 1-year-old who tries to follow her sister out the door every day. So I can only imagine it's because she can't wait to get to school. However, tonight is about you and how we as a system can service you better. There are a lot of people on this call, but we have it structured in such a way that I'm hopeful that all will be able to contribute. I know that we will not get to everyone's questions and comments tonight, but please know that if there's something we do not address, I'm always available to help. My email is erica.whitfield@palmbeachschools.org. Tonight's focus is our strategic plan, where this system goes from here. And I want to thank you for spending your evening with me and for allowing me to continue to serve you and your families. Our moderator this evening is the incomparable Amy Littman from our communications department. Thank you, Amy, for helping ensure that everything goes well tonight. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Whitfield. I am very happy to be here and happy for all of you at home to be joining us as well, or from wherever you're joining us from. We would love to be connecting with everyone in person, of course, but we just cannot do that right now during the pandemic. So this virtual meeting is the next best option, and we will be giving you multiple ways to interact with us and let us know your thoughts throughout this meeting this evening. I will serve as your moderator, which means I will be monitoring the chat and passing along your questions and feedback that you share. As a reminder, the purpose of this meeting in particular tonight is to hear your thoughts about the goals and where you want to see the district over the next several years. We're really thinking big picture here. So Mrs. Whitfield will share updates on where we're at with the development of the next strategic plan, which is the district's long-term plan. We want to hear everyone's feedback about it throughout the meeting, so we will be offering interactive polls and question prompts to put in the chat there. We realize that people may have questions about day-to-day operations or how the new school year is going to look, but we have many other upcoming meetings planned to address those concerns specifically. We recently held a back-to-school community update, which is on our website, palmbeachschools.org. You can find a lot of really helpful information there about what we're expecting later this fall. And 1 week from today, next Thursday, we will hold a Facebook Live about learning opportunities for students over the summer. So be sure to follow us on social media, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at PBCSD. Check with your school's data processor as well to make sure that we have all of your contact information correct, so you get our email newsletters and important text message updates and any phone calls that you should be getting to make sure that we keep you in the loop. So as for the strategic plan, right now we're in this community engagement phase of developing it. The district launched a survey about long-term suggestions and goals, and we received 28,000 responses, if you can believe that. I was thrilled to hear those numbers, and we will be sharing the results and a lot of the feedback from those surveys on May 5th. So we hope everyone will tune into the school board workshop on May 5th as you all discuss that, Mrs. Whitfield, as well as your fellow board members. So now we want to get to know the audience and see who's watching tonight with us and participating in this meeting. So we have an interactive poll. If you haven't used Mentee Meter before, it's very simple. You just go to mentee.com. You're going to use code 4930-0592 for our first interactive poll here. And tell us about yourself. Tell us, are you a parent? Are you a district employee? Are you both of those things? Are you a student who happens to be watching this, or a member of the community who really cares about what is happening in the school district of Palm Beach County? Of course, Mrs. Whitfield, you yourself apply for the parent part of this and the school board member. So we are happy to have you here with us and your multiple perspectives when it comes to the school district of Palm Beach County.
Yeah, we have a lot of, I could fill in, I think, every one of these boxes, and I think a lot of people can. So just pick the one that fits best for you. And yes, I just scanned the QR code on my phone so that I could follow along and play with everybody here. I hope you will contribute as we go on the Mentee Meter to all of these things that we're talking about. Also, you can do comments online. I really want to hear from you all. I know this isn't the ideal situation. We're not in person, but I really think this is a great option. And in good news, as soon as we're done, you guys can go directly to your dinner at your house. So it's one of the bonuses.
A short commute to the kitchen. Oh, look, and we're already getting some feedback here. So that's great to see with all of you who are watching us and participating in the poll. We'll have some more specific polls related directly to the strategic plan and the different themes that we're talking about here tonight. But we're very happy to see that we have a bunch of people watching. We have some parents, we have staff members, community members too. We are such a large district. We affect everyone in some way, shape, or form in this community. And so it's really great to see that community members are watching as well.
And there is a little bit of a lag on the questions. So we'll see as they come up, we'll see some of the answers here. But I'm very excited to see you all here, and thank you all for participating today.
Yes, absolutely. And if anybody also wants to just put in the chat box and tell us why. Why are you here joining tonight's community meeting for District 4? Even if you're not part of the school board, District 4, of course, you can be watching. We invite everyone to watch all of our community meetings. But
if you want to say because it's the best district, that's super okay with me. And that's why you want to be here. Or first is good too.
Yes, this is the first of several meetings. We will have more of these virtual community meetings happening Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week for anyone who wants to tell someone else to come and watch one of these meetings if they didn't make it tonight. So you can just answer right there in the chat box there and let us know your reasoning for watching tonight's meeting.
Don't be shy. I like it. Don't be shy, people. Okay, so I think we're going to talk a little bit right now about the strategic plan and why we have a strategic plan. So I've been on this board now for 6 years, and when I was first started about 5 years ago, we had Dr. Avosa had just started with us. And one of the frustrations that I had in the past was I didn't feel like we had a really robust strategic plan. And so he put together, with the help of all of our staff, a really great strategic plan that has guided us for the last 5 years. We, during that time, have had 4 different long-term outcomes, which I think will pop up on the screen in just a second. The goals were increasing reading on grade level by 3rd grade, ensuring high school readiness, increasing the high school graduation rate, which is the one we've done the best at, and fostering postgraduate success. I felt like that was very good for us then, but one of the things that we need to grow. During this time, we just had a very tough year. This one of the things that we can all agree on is that we have seen some of the deficits in our system because of what happened to us when we had to go virtual, when everyone had to start teaching their own kids and helping with class, and we relied on teachers to pivot and learn how to teach virtually and in person. Getting computers for everyone has been such a huge challenge. So as we're going forward, we know we need to do things a little bit differently. And this is the chance for us to do that. Last time we did this, we were able to do community meetings where everybody could be seen in person. We were able to talk and ask questions. This time, things have to be done differently because we need to be virtual, but it's also been a great opportunity for us to reach out to even more people than we've ever been able to reach out to in the past. So we are really looking at the current challenges in our K-12 system and how we can use this pandemic as an opportunity. One thing I like to say that happened during this pandemic that nobody expected was we have been wanting for a long time to get our kids on a 1-to-1 device ratio. So that means that every child in the district has a computer so that they can take it home. And that is something that we wouldn't have actually been able to accomplish without this pandemic. And we did it so quickly when that time came up and we had no choice but to do it. So it's something that is going to benefit for us for years to come. And tonight we want to hear from you. What else can we learn from this moment? So on the next slide, we're talking about where we are right now. So we are currently in phase 1. This is something that has been presented to the school board. We're looking at where we were in the past, how the previous strategic plan worked or didn't work, what things we need to do differently. So we're still in phase 1. We're evaluating where we are now and where we need to go as a district. We want to include everyone from the community every step of this process. The district has also formed a steering committee, and we have representation from the district office, principals, students, teachers, parents, community partners. Many of you may actually be on those committees. They began meeting monthly in March. We just had our second one. And all of it is broadcast live and recorded so you can watch the process unfold. If you're interested in being a part of that or seeing what we have there, you can go to palmbeachschools.org/strategic plan development. So you can see that there. And then again, as Amy mentioned, in May, we are going to be putting out some of the information about the strategic plan, and then we'll have a public meeting on the 26th to hear the draft goals that are put forward by the steering committee. And then we continue to want to have you provide feedback via public comment, in person, or recorded messages. And we'll be organizing focus groups. So if you're interested in participating in a focus group and you haven't told us already, please tell us, because I think focus groups are really important. For me, I want to hear from you. I want to hear what you guys have to say, and let us know if we're not making the schools that you're dreaming of for your children. The school board is scheduled to approve final goals in late July, which is phase 3. And really all of this is about cultivating the relationships and to ensure successful implementation of our plan. And we can't do this work alone. So we really want to engage you as much as possible. So we'll pass it over to Amy, and we're going to have question 3 of our interactive poll.
Yes, hopefully everyone is now familiar with Mentee Meter, but if you just logged on, you go to mentee.com, you type in the code that's at the top of this slide here. It's 49300592. You can also scan that QR code right there with your phone if you happen to be watching this live stream on your computer. And what we want to know is what you think should be the district's top priority for the next strategic plan. So your options are mental health or social emotional wellness, school safety, educational equity for every student, accelerating student learning because of COVID-19 and the delays that have happened this school year that we know of so far, investments in technology and associated learning, or some other priority maybe that we don't have listed here. And if you have an idea of what that is and you want to put it in the chat box, you can definitely do that as well. And these specific answers, they might look familiar to you if you took the feedback survey at the beginning of April that I mentioned had 28,000 responses. If you were one of those people who responded to that survey, you would have seen these options there. So we're just continuing to collect feedback from the community about it. Now, Mrs. You mentioned how mental health has been something that has been very important to you in your role as a school board member. Tell us more about what you've seen the school district do with that over your time serving.
So I actually am really happy to see these were the top priorities that came up. Makes me feel like I really understand what's going on in the district. Mental health and social emotional wellness have been huge for me. This is, again, one of the benefits of things that have happened in our community. Unfortunately, after Stoneman Douglas, we put such a higher priority on school safety. And I think our schools, they're just so well locked down. We've done such a good job of making sure to protect our students to the best of our ability. And then we realized a lot of it is about prevention. And so mental health is important for school safety, but also just for the children's academic success. That's been such a huge thing that we really need to be focusing on, and it's something that means a lot to me. I feel like the schools, if you're thinking about our community, the schools are really the hub of the community, and it's really the heart. And for some of our communities, it's the only place they really feel safe. And so for them to be able to go to a school and let people know when they're having an issue, I think that's one of the things we know, that we're a trusted source. And it makes me so proud to be a part of that. So we provide mental health services. We are providing a safe and secure environment for our students so they can come and really have the opportunity to achieve. Educational equity is something that we have been, working on for many years, but right now it's something that is so high priority for the community, is how we make sure that each child and every child has an opportunity to learn and be their best selves. So I think that's something that's really good. Accelerated student learning is really like making sure that your student is leaving the system with as much credits, as many educational opportunities as they can have, making sure that we're getting them into those high-level classes so that they can really succeed in this workforce today. And then, as I mentioned, we have put so much money into technology. So just really making sure that every student has access to a computer. So these are huge overarching priorities that we have as a district. It's stuff that we're all working on, but to hear from the community on what you think is the most important really means a lot. So we can focus our efforts in the right place, because there is a limited amount of money, and a strategic plan is really us deciding how we want to spend the money that you all give us to provide the best education possible.
And a lot of these categories really interact with each other. Of course, supporting student mental health and safety will then continue to allow students to do better in school and feel accelerated in their learning if they feel safe and if they feel good about themselves as well. So there's so much intersection of these different priorities. I know it's a lot of people in the chat are saying it's hard for them to choose what the top goal should be, because all of them ultimately should be. And I'm sure we'll have an eye on all of that. Now, as this process continues for the development of the next strategic plan, we would love to see any questions that anyone has about its development, about the process. You're welcome to put that in the chat. And at any time, you can also email strategicplan@palmbeachschools.org. That's where you can email feedback, questions to after this meeting. If you have any feedback about this meeting, you're welcome to send it there too. And that will then go to the steering committee for the strategic plan and help with the formation of this. So we are getting some feedback in the chat. Let's see, mainly about accelerating classes, making sure that students, of course, have solid foundations in their learning to then go into accelerated classes. So we appreciate all of this feedback.
Can we put back up the Mentee so we can see? I know we had a question about greater clarity on the graphs, so everyone can see where we're at. The first column, I know it's so hard to read. The first column is mental health and social emotional wellness. We have 9 votes for that. School safety is 5. The next one is educational equity for every student. That has 9. 6 votes for accelerated school learning, and then 2 for investments in technology, and then 6 people for another priority that wasn't listed here. So if anybody has those, we'd be happy to read them out.
Yeah, I think we're seeing some of those in the chats, some of those others, and probably some people who just couldn't choose because they feel that it's also important.
And I know we have some questions coming in about, our top priority is really education, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in our mission. But these are all ways that we can enhance education. So obviously, education is definitely the number one. We want all children to be educated. But as we've gone through, and I know, my schooling experience was very different than where we're at now. As we've been growing as a system and really just getting through the world, we're realizing that there's more to education than just sitting down and teaching kids from a book. And so focusing on equity, focusing on mental and social health, all of these issues can really contribute to helping a child to be educated and to be successful at the end. So they all really tie in. And so we want to know, what are the most important ways that we can educate your children? And so this is what that is tied into.
Absolutely. And supporting their education through those other avenues, whether it be technology, school safety upgrades, and things like that. So we do have one more interactive poll we'd love to have everyone give feedback about, as well as we are planning future events for the development of the next strategic plan. Would you be interested in attending an in-person community meeting to hear more? You can say yes, no, or you can be unsure at this time. Obviously, plans have changed so rapidly over the last year. It's hard to think beyond the next day at this point. And for those who are just jumping in, go to mentee.com and use that code that's right on the top there to share your feedback here. So that will be collected and utilized by the Strategic Plan Steering Committee to decide how to go forth in this process. I do want to bring up, we had a comment from Christine about students ensuring that they all have the same access to accelerated classes and qualified and innovative teachers. And I think that really relates to what we're going to talk about next, which is equitable outcomes. So Mrs. Whitfield, if you want to go forth with that, I think that was a perfect segue from Christine here.
Yeah, well, she is in one of our strategic planning groups, and so she has a good knowledge of what's going on in our community. So thank you, Christine. Yes, so one of the things that we have really done as we're approaching this next strategic plan is to focus on equity. We realized that in order to get different results, you have to do things differently. And one of the things that I have actually been heard as saying throughout this pandemic is how badly the children have done in this past year. There have been some successes around graduation, and there's been a lot of successes around having the teachers have just gone above and beyond, learning and teaching these new ways to teach. It's really been so impressive, and we can't thank them enough. But in this time, we've noticed that some of our schools have had kids struggling, really, really struggling. And so it's really exacerbated some of the differences between our children. Families who had a lot to start with were able to mitigate the effects of the pandemic a lot better than families that didn't. So really, that's a big piece of equity. It's making sure that no matter who you are, where you come from, what your family's economic situation looks like, you're getting the same opportunities for education, because we know that a rising tide lifts all boats, and we want to rise all the boats in our district, and we want to make sure that everyone has the best access to education. So we're approaching the strategic plan process differently. Before COVID, we definitely saw students achieving at higher levels than others, but now we're realizing that those differences have really been exacerbated. So, for example, the district realized that record high school graduation rates pre-COVID, we had a record high school graduation rate pre-COVID, but the data clearly showed disparities in there. So even though we got everyone's graduation rate higher, there was definitely, for people from different backgrounds, were struggling differently. So this is something that we have learned, and I'm very proud of the board for focusing and having an intentional focus on equity as we go forward. And you'll hear more about that as we talk about our mission and our vision. But let's talk a little bit about the curb cut effect. This is a fascinating article that we read as a part of our board development and working on equity. This is something that many years ago was actually created as a study on equity. When handicapped people that were disabled or in a wheelchair would approach a curb, they wouldn't be able to get up that curb because they had wheels on the bottom of their chair. And when they would come up to the curb, they would get there and realize that it wasn't accessible for them. They weren't able to transverse the ground as easily. So a lot of work was put in through legislation to make it so that we were accommodating to people who were not able to walk and had to use a wheelchair. When that legislation went through, when the policies changed and we created these curb cuts in our sidewalks and made it so that a person in a wheelchair could actually transverse and make life a lot easier for them so that they could use the sidewalks, what that did is it made it so that somebody who was pushing a stroller, somebody who was using a wheeling suitcase, somebody who was riding a bike or, just trying to get around in other ways, they all of a sudden had the same access. So I know for all of you on this call, when you've walked down a street pushing a stroller or walking with your children and trying to ride a bike, you've probably used these curb cuts, which were not made for you. They were not created for you in your situation. But it was created thinking about a specific group because we wanted to make access available for them. And then we actually made access for everyone. So that's really the focus on equity that we're trying to do. So you can see how we've made the world a better place by really thinking about one group and just making everything as accessible as possible. So that's what the curb cut effect is. And we believe that, and we have studies that show that actually ties to education. When you're looking at an educational experience for our students, what you're seeing is that if we make it so education is accessible for every child, we're actually going to make it so that every child in the district, every child that participates in our school system achieves more and is better suited because of making sure of access for everyone. So it's really a way for us to help all children within the school district. And it's called the universal design for learning. So we're universally designing schools that are going to be great for every child in our district. So we're going to move on to the mission and vision. This is actually something I'm really proud of. And we had a very long and unwieldy mission up until last week. And then we just put together a new vision and new mission for the school district. And so I'm going to unveil that to you today. So the new mission statement, which we will be hopefully accepting at a board meeting upcoming, but we just put it together on April 14th. The mission of the school district of Palm Beach County is to educate, affirm, and inspire each student in an equity-embedded school system. As we had that comment earlier about how our first job is to educate, that was something I really wanted to be the first part of the mission. I think it is very important that everyone knows what our mission is. And so we want to really, and I like inspire, I really want to inspire children to learn. I want them to come to school feeling like this is a place where you are valued, loved, and you can succeed. And so I want them to be inspired. I want them to be affirmed. And we want it to be in an equity embedded environment because we realize that is very important for the success of our schools going forward. Our new vision statement is also here, and I want you to see that. So the new vision statement that we put together, we envision the school district of Palm Beach County as an educational and working environment where both students and staff are unimpeded by bias or discrimination. Individuals of all background and experiences are embraced, affirmed, and inspired. Each and every one will succeed and flourish. The school district of Palm Beach County will take ownership for students' academic mastery, emotional intelligence, and social emotional needs by creating environments where students, families, staff, and communities will develop agency and voice. A joy of learning is fostered in each student and a positive vision for their future is nurtured. Each student's cultural heritage is valued and their physical, emotional, academic, and social needs are met. We see you. So that's our newest vision. And I particularly like the part about joy because I want this to be a positive vision for the future going forward. I want our schools to be a place where people are excited to be every day. And I know sometimes it can feel not like that. And that is not something that I want for our school system. We have a lot of children here, and I believe that we're growing our community and we're making it a place where we're actually going to create tomorrow's leaders, tomorrow's people that are just going to be the center of our community, the heart of our community. And I really want them to be valued in this process. So I like the vision a lot. It makes me feel very positive and uplifted going forward. And it's important for us as a school district to set, and the school board to set that vision. So all of this will be brought forward for formal approval by the board on May 5th. So now I think we're going to go back to Amy.
Yes, we have another interactive Mentimeter poll specifically about that beautiful mission and vision statement. And so what we want from everyone is to go to mentee.com again. Hopefully you're familiar with it by now. If not, we have some of the directions up there on the top of the screen. And you're going to tell us what words or phrases from the mission and vision stand out to you. I know the word inspire in the mission really stood out to me, as we want to inspire every student to become exactly who they want to be and who they are meant to be. I know for me, that was a really beautiful word. We can actually, hopefully once everyone has those instructions, we can go back and kind of look at those, but we're already getting some responses in case anyone needs to see it again, just to get an idea of what words in there specifically. Mrs. Whitfield, what do you think?
Well, I was just thinking, I mean, obviously we spent a long time on this, but I obviously am thrilled with Inspire. It's this vision that I have for what our schools should be. As I mentioned earlier, I have two children, one who is in the school system, and I want her to love going to school. It's so important. And I say, you know, throughout everything that we do, I need you to embrace the opportunities that education has for you and to really love being there. And I know it's not the case for every student. And so that's something that I think we have to do as a school district. We have to find a way to reach out to every child and make this school system and educational opportunities really mean something to them. And then our vision with joy, it just makes me so happy to have that in there. And that every student will succeed and flourish. I saw in the chat, there were some questions about, you know, not every child, or actually maybe it wasn't in the chat, I may have gotten a text about it, but not every child will want to go to college. And so success for you is what that means to be successful. And I know we're actually going to talk a little bit about Portrait of a Graduate here in a second, or maybe we can move on to that. Oh, let's look at this before I move on to Portrait of Graduate. So let's see what everybody wrote. Unimpeded by bias. I love that. That made it in there. Affirm, inspire, educate, joy, equity embedded. Oh, we're moving around. Each individual student. I mean, so I know how much I love my kids, and I know you all love your children, and I know you want the best for them. And that's really what our goal is here, is to create an opportunity for every school to just find the part of your child that is the most special, and that we educate to that child so they can be successful in the way that means the most to them. Oh, and somebody wrote, "We see you." I like that. Good, I'm so glad.
It's so positive. I think it gives you happy, positive, inspiring feelings, seeing those words that are incorporated into this, that it's not just black and white, right? It's colorful and makes you really feel like it's acknowledging everyone who's a part of it. And I think it applies to the staff, to the students, the families. So this is a great word cloud made up of that potential vision and mission.
And we do have one person who asked what equity means. And I have to tell you, we spent a long time creating an equity statement. So that'll probably be on our website soon. It's also coming to the board on May 5th. We spent a long time talking about equity. It is a larger discussion than I think we can have here. But to me, equity is just making sure that every child gets what they need when they need it to be successful. So we will have our equity statement, and you know, we've talked a lot about what equity means, and to me, that kind of wraps it all up, is the importance of making sure every child gets what they need. And I saw another question about, you know, how STEAM music fits into the strategic plan. And then I really just wanted to address that. So the way that the strategic planning process works is we're going to start up here with the school district making the vision and the mission decisions. And then each thing that we do goes down to this bigger, larger system, and all the pieces will be hopefully aligned in there. So as we're going forward, we as a school system have to make decisions on what to continue to do and what not to continue to do. And then not is going to be the hardest part, because nobody wants to ever cancel anything. But to me, music, arts, STEAM, those things are great, and we need to keep those into the system and really enhance them. We know that our children do so well. When my daughter started elementary school, I think it was like 4th grade, they asked her if she wanted to be involved in the band at her school, and she still does it now. She's a 7th grader and does the trumpet. But I feel like it turned a part of her brain on that wasn't on before. And the connection that makes just means the world to me. And I feel that way about art. I feel that way about, our theater programs. It's like this additional creative side that then leads to the academic success. So I'm a huge fan of all of those parts of the program. So I want to see those continue. But that's really how it's going to work. So we're going to work down. So mission, vision, and then slowly working on our strategic planning goals. All of those goals will then lead to what programs we think are the most important, how we keep them, and really provide the best education for your students.
I think STEAM leads right into this portrait of a graduate too, because of course everyone has some different ideas of what they want their child or students in their class, how they are, the skills that they have upon graduation. And so many people, I know for me, arts were a huge part of my public education and upbringing as well. And that can very much play into this portrait of a graduate idea that we're excited to hear more about.
So this is something that I just absolutely love. The idea of a portrait of a graduate is really, it's something that's happened around the country. And I think we're just starting to embrace this now. And we need your input. I really need your input on this part. So the idea is, when a student graduates from the school district of Palm Beach County, what does that look like? What is that picture that you have in your mind of a graduate? And to me, I'm gonna give you some of the suggestions of things that I think that fits, but I want to hear from you. So you tell me what you think. So to me, a portrait of a graduate is that you walk out with employable real world skills. I want your children and my children to walk out and be able to get a job. To me, a job is really where we're going. We want people that can be employable within our community and be successful. I want them to be strong community members. I'm a very big fan of making a child into a person that we want to contribute back to our community. I think all children should be ready either for a job, for a career, technical education, vocational education, or to go off to college. Many people in this district really like that we have given so many opportunities for students to get college credits before they even go to college, saving you tons of money. And so I've said that to my daughter, please, please, please take the classes that it takes so that you can get as many credits as you can before you go to college. And I think that to me is the portrait of a graduate, walking out with tangible, real world skills. The other thing I really want is I want people who have had opportunities for volunteer service, leadership opportunities. I want people to walk out feeling like they can tackle the world. One of the struggles I always had when I graduated, I felt like I wasn't totally ready for the world until after my graduate degree. So it takes a while, and maybe not every child's going to be ready right after high school, just like I didn't feel like I was, but that we've given you the skill set so that you can get to a place where you will be successful in that time. The other thing I'd really like to be able to put in there, and this may not be thrilling for some people, but I think we should give people the opportunity to get into public speaking, to be able to have, as I said, leadership roles within their schools. I think everyone should have an opportunity to engage and to show themselves as a leader within their school. I think everyone can lead in different areas, and some small, some large, but I think that those opportunities to be out there and to really share the values that you bring to the world, I think all of that needs to be in a graduate. So let's see what else we have here in our comments. I'm trying to see anything. Anybody have any comments on portrait of a graduate? And feel free, look, we have an interactive response here with the Mentee meter. I know Amy's going to talk a little bit about this, but give us some ideas on what you're thinking. What makes a perfect graduate? What is the person we're going for? Go ahead.
I'm just going to say once again, because we always get people jumping on, Mentee.com, go to Mentee meter and give us your thoughts on this. What should be included in this portrait of a graduate? We are already seeing a lot of ideas in the chat box, and we are seeing them now here too. Look at that. Critical thinking and real world skills, those really seem to be very popular ideas, which of course makes sense that when you get out of school, you want your child or your students to be prepared. And I think everyone would benefit from.
People will be surprised if you don't have your children in school, how much teachers are focused on critical thinking right now. I think it's become a really big focus for our teachers. And I love watching them put real world examples in front of the children and have them think about what it is they're reading and learning and getting from the world and really try to be critical about it. I think that's a brilliant skill to have, and I love that.
Citizenship is also coming out as a big theme here. We have a comment in the chat about that as well. I do know that there are plenty of schools that the students themselves do voter registration drives, and we have civics even in middle school for students to learn about citizenship. But of course, that's something that can always be expanded upon. And as we're in this community meeting, which is an example of citizenship, right, and everyone participating in this public process, I think that that's great to think about as well.
And tell me, what do you guys think about learning another language? For me, if we could give a child another language when they walk out of here, I think that could be just such an amazing thing. I put my daughter in a dual language program right when she started kindergarten, and so she's fairly decent at Spanish. I wouldn't say she's great, but she's doing all right. But the idea that she has a basis for going forward in a community that has such a high Spanish speaking population. We're also looking at other languages. We have quite a list of them throughout the county where people can learn, Mandarin, they can learn Creole. We're actually working on putting that in. So if you guys are interested in languages, I would love to hear that as well. And let's see what else we have here on the ideas.
Yeah, those dual language programs are incredible, where students end up learning other subjects, of course, not just the language, but history and science in the second language. So it therefore deepens their understanding and comprehension of that language. Those programs are really important. And I know that there is a community push, I believe, to expand those to more schools.
And I see somebody mentioned volunteerism, Mary Lindsay. I love it. I really think, I would like it. I keep thinking about what kind of child we're trying to create, and I'd love it with children that want to give back and that see that as just a part of their everyday life, that they can get out there in the community and give back, because that's how we create a better community. If everyone just gave a little bit of their time and themselves to the community, it would be unbelievable. We're already such a great place to live, but to have that is huge. And then giving a full taste of life. I saw that from Tasha. And I think that that's a really wonderful thing as well. Everybody has opportunities to try things out, so they see where their special skills are.
Yeah, that was great to see all of those ideas and all of that feedback sent into that Mentimeter there, and to see all that participation. So we have a question and answer session now. So Mrs. Whitfield will be able to answer some questions. Again, we are thinking bigger picture here. We're thinking the next several years, not just next school year. And so to remind everyone that we want to keep everything focused as much as possible on the strategic plan. And so if anyone wants to submit some questions, you can put them in the chat here. If you're having any difficulties with the chat, then you can use Mentee for those questions as well. Now, there are already some that, of course, we're going through the chat throughout the last 45 minutes. So I can bring a couple of those up. Richard had asked earlier on, can you expand on school safety and how it may apply to reducing class disruption behavior? That came up when we were talking about school safety priorities compared to some other different priorities.
So I think you have to think of school safety as really a broad thought process. And I really love this question that people are focused on that. So there's the overall safety, which is locking the doors and making sure fences don't have holes in them and things like that, which is very important, checking who's coming in and all that. But one of the biggest pieces of school safety is how we interact with our students and how our students feel when they're in the school, if they feel safe, if they feel valued, and if we are dealing with issues as they come up. So one of the things that I love that our schools do and have done for years is something called positive behavior supports. And what that does is it recognizes children when they're doing something good. Every school does it. They all do it in the way that fits for them, that hopefully works for their community. Elementary school, you'll see it's always usually a really cute thing where the principal will recognize when somebody's doing well. It's reinforcing good behaviors, and things like that are really important for students so that they feel valued and affirmed within their school environment. So that is a huge piece of it, is making sure that we're taking the children as they come in and recognizing when they do something well. And then we really do try to keep our suspension rates down in school and out of school suspensions. We're not trying to punish children, but really letting them know how they can, be the best citizens at their school that they can be. So it's really it's been a change in the way that schools have happened over the last 50 years, and the time that I was in school. We no longer are disciplining like we used to. I know there was my teacher in 4th grade had a ruler she called Mr. Do Right, and if you didn't do right, you got the ruler. We don't head down those directions anymore. It's all about positive behavior supports, which I really like a lot.
We have another question from Andrew saying, what's the outlook on expanding programs for 3-year-olds? Because right now there are only 2 choice programs in the district. Those Montessori choice programs, I think, are at Northmore and Spady, I believe.
So Andrew is one of our communications employees, and also
that he is.
of a small baby the same age as mine. So we know him well. Thank you, Andrew, for your question. I do think this is hugely important. I actually work with the Early Learning Coalition. I'm the school board's rep on the Early Learning Coalition, have been for a few years. I love it. One of the things that we're trying to do is to make sure there's more opportunities within the county. Our county doesn't fully rely on preschool programs only at the schools. We do have a great partnership with our private providers, so I work with them a lot. We've gotten a lot of private funding that's come in to even improve some of the opportunities at our private centers. There's a lot of struggle there, though, because it's difficult to keep employees. They're not paid super well, and so as a community, as a system, we have to support both sides, the public and the private early learning centers, because Andrew, just like I'm about to, I have to find childcare, and the world cannot run without childcare for those of us who have kids. So I'm really trying to make sure that we enhance those programs. We only have a few within our system right now, but it's something that I would love to see expanded, but not ignoring the private centers that are out there, really working to make them as great as they can be as well, because they really do feed into our larger system. And I know our kindergarten teachers always say they wish they could get a student that had been to a quality preschool, because when they come from a quality preschool, they are ready to learn. They already know the ropes of school. And so I really love when we get that. So supporting them is really important.
Absolutely. I'm the daughter of an early childhood educator. And so I know all about the accreditation processes and everything, and the sheer importance of early childhood education. We are registering 4-year-olds for voluntary pre-kindergarten, just to let everyone know, if you want to BPK.
About summer school, about what we're doing around summer programs. We are, if you haven't had your child in VPK this past year, there's a summer program where you can get quite a bit of services, all free and paid for by the state through VPK. So make sure you're signing up for that. Again, that sometimes is with us and sometimes is not. But if you, really encourage people to get a little education for their babies before they come to us, because they can learn the most important things: how to sit, how to go to the bathroom, how to get, really sit still and be that great student. And it goes a long way for the first few months of kindergarten if they've had that opportunity. Letters, numbers, colors, shapes, all those things are taught in preschool, and they're such a good foundation. So we really like to see that. One other thing I wanted to answer was a finance question. I want you all to know the superintendent is pretty obsessed with finance right now. We have a lot of conversations about this. And I love it. He really wants people to understand personal finance, and he's looking at putting in a lot of programs around that. So I'm very, very glad to see that. I think focusing to make sure every person that's part of our system comes out with a basic knowledge of how to handle their money is really important going forward for all of our students. So I just want to let you know that's on his radar, and he's been working very hard on that.
So we have staff who are monitoring some of the questions that we're also getting in Mentee, in addition to questions in the chat here on the YouTube live stream. Of course, we are here to talk about long-term goals, but a popular question is if face coverings could end up becoming optional, and also about playgrounds and when they may be able to open. Mrs. Whitfield, if you can offer any insight, since we are getting some questions about that.
Sure. The governor just came out saying that we have the option as a school district to make them voluntary in the upcoming year. We're still kind of far from that. We're about 4 months out. So we are not making any changes for this school year, but we do have to discuss it coming forward. I think we have enough time left that we can really have a discussion as a school board. I imagine that these discussions will really happen over the summer. So, you know, it's definitely something we're considering. I appreciate everyone reaching out. We've had two petitions that I've seen so far, one for and one against. So we are hearing you. We are listening. I'm very happy to hear what you say. We're just trying to make the best decisions for our families and following CDC guidelines to make sure that everyone is as safe as possible. Most important thing to me is that we stay in school and that everybody needs to come, because we know that being in a building and being at school has really has a great impact on people's education. So, you know, I really want to make sure that people feel welcomed and can come, but we'll be listening to all your thoughts as we go forward on the masks question.
To remind everyone, because we are getting a few more questions related to COVID and face coverings and whatnot in the chat here, we do have a back to school press conference that was done last week that's on our website, palmbeachschools.org, that people are welcome to watch. And of course, these decisions will continue to be made as time goes on, as we get closer to August. We have a question from Julia. Can we have behavioral specialists and mental health providers interact and intervene with students needing discipline to reduce unnecessary contact with school police?
Absolutely. I am such a fan of this. I think it's such a great idea. Thank you, Julia, for this question. We are doing, I think, a very good job, and a better job than we've ever done, of making sure that our school police are respectful of our students and take all of their outside, you know, issues into consideration, and taking the best care of them we can. But having all of these behavioral specialists in our schools is a real opportunity for us. So having that partnership there, making sure we have mental health providers that can assess children and work with them and deal with the struggles that they're coming into school with, because the reality is our children come in you know, having, you know, sometimes a tough night the night before, or issues going on at home that need to be dealt with. And we have created, thank you to you all for your referendum dollars from just a few years ago, from the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Act that came through. We're putting a higher focus on mental health services than we ever have in the past. And I think this is why it's become a priority issue that you saw earlier, is because we know that focusing on it early and really paying attention to this is the way that we make sure that children are taken care of the best way we can. So yes, I want to see people focus on that in the schools. And these professionals are here, they're skilled, they're in our schools on a daily basis, and we need to use them to the best of their ability.
We have a question about fine arts funding from Jessica, saying how fine arts funding looks for next school year. And I also think we can expand upon that for the next several years as we're talking about the strategic plan and the focus on fine arts.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I didn't answer the question about playgrounds. All of those things are going to be coming forward, you know, in the future. I really would love to see kids get outside. My work that I did before this was all focused on public health and physical activity, nutrition. And I believe so much in being outside and what it does for your mental health. And I really want children to be able to play and have fun, especially our younger grades. I think it's crucially important. So as soon as we feel that we can, I would very much like to do that. And then fine arts funding, we do actually have a 0.25% that we get from a previous referendum. We are probably going to have to come back to the taxpayers again soon and ask for that to be refunded. It's been refunded twice now. So I'm very glad to see that we have that funding there. It is crucially important. It's one of the things that's great about this school district is that we have prioritized fine arts. A lot of these positions throughout our system are paid for with that 0.25 on your property taxes. So we will be coming back again. Right now the funding is there, but at some point we will have to come back again and come ask for that funding to keep it going. But right now we're doing pretty good.
We have a question in Mentee. I think this will probably be our last question, and then we'll need to wrap up here. We have a question of what do we do to attract and retain great teachers?
Well, so I have a lot of thoughts on this. One of the things that I've been working on is I've been working in the community that I live, which is Lake Worth Beach, to really work with the community to be welcoming to our teachers. I think that you all have a lot to say in whether or not a teacher feels welcomed in your schools, really just appreciating them and the communities letting them know how important they are, families letting them know how much we appreciate them. Honestly, this past year, it has been very hard to be a teacher, and these teachers have been heroes every day, coming into work, working when they were afraid for their own safety, taking care of children, trying to figure out how to teach in ways that they had never done before. So I think we have to show a great deal of appreciation. The other thing that's going to be really great is that the governor put together an ability for us to raise starting teacher pay. We did raise that to $47.5 this year because of the funding that came down from the governor. I think that'll do a lot in bringing in new teachers. One of the issues that we're having now is making sure that we pay teachers who've been with us more than 10 years, 15 years. We give them raises as well. So we've done our best as a school board to make sure to compensate them as much as we can. So we've given 3.5% raises for ever since I've been on the board, which is pretty good considering our financial situation. I wish it was more. But I also think that we have to show that Palm Beach County is a great place to live. We need to work on making sure that we have affordable housing in Palm Beach County so that teachers can afford to live here and can afford to stay and don't have to commute from the counties surrounding us to have a cheaper place to live. So I think there's a lot that can be done around that. So having community support around those things is huge, but just thanking your teachers is an enormous thing, and trying to make sure that the time that they are in school, they realize how crucial and valuable they are for our students in the education. So we just absolutely love our new teachers. They're wonderful humans, and we're very glad to have them in our community.
We thank everyone for all of their questions. Thank you, Ms. Whitfield, for answering so many of them. But of course, there are always questions that come to people's minds, things that they're going to think about and they're going to want to give feedback on. So if you are looking for information, always the best place to go is palmbeachschools.org. We have a lot of information on there. And then as far as the strategic plan, you can email strategicplan@palmbeachschools.org, provide those questions there. We are documenting what is going on in the chat, and we're going to be providing that to the strategic plan steering committee and to staff to follow up on those different thoughts and concerns and questions.
Well, and let me say a huge thank you to everyone who participated tonight. Having you all come on just means the world to me. I'm so glad to see you all here and have you contribute to our strategic plan. But more than anything, I want you to feel comfortable to reach out to me. I am absolutely available for you. Tell me what it is that we're missing. What is it that I don't have perfect? You know, I'm always learning and I'm always open to new ideas. I try really hard to be accessible. Send me a quick email and just let me know what it is that you think that we could be doing better. Now is the time. We're planning for the next 5 years, and we're going to decide. This budget is massive, and we, the 7 of us, along with our administration, are going to decide how to spend it. So tell me, what is it that's important to you and how we can best serve you? I do want to say a huge thank you to Amy for being here today. Amy Littman from Communications. She's been wonderful. She's a great moderator. You will see her on all of the other calls. She has to do this for the rest of us as well. So we thank you so much. I'd like to thank Kathy Villavicencio, who has really put together all this work behind the scenes. I know she's on today. Ed Tierney, who's also been a huge help with the strategic planning process. Our Ed Tech department, who's the reason that you even hear me today, making sure that they can could actually make this whole thing work, and for moderating all of these questions. This has been truly my pleasure to be here, and I appreciate you allowing me to continue to serve you as your school board member. And I hope that we can go forward and make a fabulous strategic plan that influences the lives of all of our children, including my 1-year-old, who will be starting school in 4 years. So we have to plan for her to come. And so I'm very engaged in this process, and I want to see our schools be absolutely the best option that you all have for your education. So with that, I think we'll let you all go to your dinners and to your evenings, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you all so much.